Keith, we know that the MAGA movement is built on hypocrisy. People claiming that they are pro family, while Donald Trump has 3 wives and Elon Musk has 30 baby mamas. And of course, we also know that they like to claim that they're pro life, even though we just saw Republicans make almost $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts with their new budget. And the one member of Congress who stands out most in their hypocrisy shouldn't be a shock. It is Marjorie Taylor Greene. But fortunately for us, in a clip that we are going to check out, she was shut down and shut up by Jasmine Crockett, calling her out and holding MAGA accountable. Keith, thank you so much for joining the show. I am excited to get into all of this with you. But before we get into the Crockett of it all, of course, we got to check out the crazy statement that Marjorie Taylor Greene made.
You can protest all you want outside of departments of this government. You can protest all you want, but the American people disagree with you. You're protecting the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy is not a business. Those are not real jobs producing federal revenue. By the way, they're consuming taxpayer dollars. Those jobs are paid for by the American tax people who work real jobs, earn real income, pay federal taxes, and then pay these federal employees. Federal employees do not deserve their jobs. Federal employees do not deserve their paychecks. And these are jobs that can be fired at will.
So, Keith, do you think someone who has literally done nothing in Congress but obstruct has any right to say federal workers who ensure our safety and protect our communities don't deserve a check and should be fired? Or is that a little bit of that hypocrisy that we're always talking about?
Total hypocrisy. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the person who should not have a job. But I'm going to tell you right now, I would much rather have 20 FAA agents than one Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'd much rather have cancer researchers than Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'd much rather have the people who are going to be preventing climate change, thinking about the next asteroid that might hit. So many things the government does. They clean our water. There are so many things the government does. It's not sexy, but neither is Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Well, that's the thing that I keep on coming back to with this. It's just like MAGA is stupid. We talked about this in the video that we just did on your show, and I suggest everyone check it out, that these supposed genius dogebags, as we like to call them, don't know how they don't know how government works. Neither does Marjorie Taylor Greene. If they did, they wouldn't be trying to get rid of it all. These are not smart people. They don't understand what they're talking about. And this idea that they keep coming back to well, everyone voted for it. Donald Trump has some big mandate, which he doesn't, by the way, didn't even win a majority of the popular vote. First of all, he didn't run on giant cuts. He ran on lower prices, and the opposite has happened. These are the lies they tell. Finally, people are starting to wake up to it, and I think they're going to even more when they hear from Democrats like Jasmine Crockett, who just shut down Marjorie Taylor Greene right here.
I think that you have people that literally do not have a heart. They're telling us that, oh, no, we're going to run the federal government like a business. Well, let me talk to you about the people that are allegedly running this business, because the federal government ain't a business. But let me clarify. If it was, I don't want it run like the president has run businesses. The president, it's my understanding, has filed bankruptcy 6 times. We don't have that luxury in the United States of America. But even when we start to think about Elon Musk, right now, as it relates to Tesla, the sales are down. As it relates to X, he has never made a profit since he bought X. In fact, the value of X is 75% lower than it has ever been. So if I am going to go look for somebody to run a business, I'm going to look for someone who is going to run one successfully. And before people start screaming and yelling about, well, he's a billionaire. Yeah, when you know the right people and they'll just give you money, then you can become a billionaire too. And maybe one day all of us will have that kind of access. But until then, I want to talk about the fact that congressional Republicans, again, as it's been stated, they don't care about government efficiency. no more than they care about government services and programs that constituents rely on. And just like Elon is hiding from this committee, Republicans are now hiding from their constituents. Under the current Republican budget proposal, 166,000 people in the chairman's district could lose their Medicaid benefits, including more than 70,000 children. The same for the chairwoman of the DOJ subcommittee. Under the current budget proposal, 120,000 people in her district could lose Medicaid benefits, including 75,000 children. This is what efficiency looks like to Republicans, selling out their own constituents to pass tax cuts for their billionaire donors and friends. And rather than taking GAO's recommendations and discussing how Congress can help make federal employees and agencies more efficient, effective, and supported, they're firing probationary federal employees, which again, in my opinion, has led to planes actually falling out of the sky. But nevertheless, which is crazy because no one has been more unproductive than the Republicans on the Oversight Committee. Nevertheless, Mr. Dodaro, of the 38 high-risk areas in GAO's 2025 report, more than half are due in part to staffing or skills gaps, which you've already discussed. In your written testimony to the committee, you stated, quote, "When we have seen progress on high-risk issues, it has typically involved three essential elements: congressional action or oversight, commitment from top leaders at agencies, and active involvement by the Office of Management and Budget."
Keith, what I love that Jasmine Crockett is doing here is she refuses to give any legitimacy to Doge. I cannot stand the throat clearing before every conversation about Elon. How, for some reason, Democrats think that they have to go, well, we do want to cut waste and it's important to cut waste. But, what Elon is doing is actually like, we shouldn't do that. And I find it ridiculous that people think we do. Do you think that this is the approach, of course, that Democrats have to be taking and calling out this idea that Elon is somehow the one who understands how to fix government? Marjorie Taylor Greene actually has sense.
I will say this: Jasmine Crockett is one of the few members of Congress on the Democratic side who actually knows how to get attention.
Yeah.
And we are in the attention economy. You know this, Jack. I know this. We live and die on getting attention. We have to get attention if we want people to see the stuff we're going to say. Congress needs to develop this skill. Jasmine Crockett has honed it. It is something everyone can learn, but we are in the attention economy. Nothing matters more than if you are the one being talked about. If you're being talked about, that means you're talking about your talking points. And so what I love about what Jasmine Crockett does is she is able to get attention, and then it makes the news have to cover what she wants to talk about rather than us always playing defense. And I'm just sick of Democrats having to always be on the defense, defending institutions, defending democracy. Why don't we attack the people who are doing the things that are making us have to defend? And I think coming from a place of offense just is so much more stronger than coming from a place of weak defense. So I think what Jasmine Crockett does is correct. I wish we just had a lot more members of Congress who did it.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And I completely agree. In the lead up to this budget vote, and I want to get into more of that in this MAGA majority in the House, there were so many reporters asking Democrats, well, are you going to prevent the government shutdown? Are you going to get this budget bill passed? And it's like, we're not in the majority. And when other people are setting the tone, when other people are creating the narratives, when other people are setting the table for us, it is screwing us over in how like the broader narrative about our Congress is understood. Democrats should not be to blame for if MAGA were going to shut down the government, or almost worse now, pass this atrocious budget in which we see, like I said, almost $1 trillion worth of cuts to Medicaid. And why? Because they have to pay for $5 trillion worth of tax cuts for the richest people in the history of the world. And MAGA is finally waking up to this, and you've talked a lot about it on your channel. What do you think is going to be the next steps for Democrats in cultivating this energy? How do we do that?
Attack mode. All the
time. And especially because these cuts are overwhelmingly affecting red districts, red states, red cities, just Republican voters in general. That's why we're seeing these delicious town halls in which they are getting booed. And that's why you brought up attention earlier in this video. Someone who is also fantastic at getting it, Robert Garcia, was going through the individual red counties, cities, states, districts that were going to be losing Medicaid funding, and a clip that I think we just got to check out.
Now, nationally, 80 million people we know are on Medicaid, but it actually impacts every single district across the country. Whether you're talking about Kentucky's 1st District, where 26.5% of the population there, 155,000 people are dependent on Medicaid. Whether it's in Ohio's 4th District, over 100,000 people depend on Medicaid. That's 15% of the population. Whether it's in Louisiana's 3rd District, 196,000, almost 200,000 people dependent on Medicaid, or in Georgia's 14th District, where 109,000 people, or 16% of the population, are dependent on Medicaid. We know that Medicaid saves lives. These are huge numbers of people. These are folks that are colleagues of ours on the other side of the aisle that are members of this, of this committee, and that oftentimes are here at this committee. So this actually has an impact to our constituents. It means elderly and disabled people won't get their health care, their long-term care. It actually impacts people that have real substance abuse issues. And one other thing that people don't realize about Medicaid, there's a lot of conversation in this country about births and encouraging people to have more children. Medicaid covers 41% of all births in our country. 41% of U.S. births were paid for by Medicaid. And so if this is really about supporting families and about expanding families, we should also be talking about supporting and expanding Medicaid coverage.
I think while this conversation about what Republicans and Doge is doing is very national, when we get caught up in the day-to-day national story, we kind of lose it, right? If we only are telling people about all that Elon is cutting, sometimes that kind of gets mixed up in the shuffle and people hear, oh, Donald Trump is cutting government, and maybe they think that's a good thing and they don't get the full story. But when we're very hyper specific about the local examples of the 15, 20 year, government worker who just transferred agencies and somehow lost their job, or all of the Medicaid recipients who are losing their coverage, very specific examples, cancer research, Alzheimer's research, when we're very specific with those, I think it breaks through. Do you agree that that's the approach that we got to be taking?
Yeah, we cannot be the party of defending, I don't even know, like AmeriCorps or whatever, or like whatever random government agency exists. We can't be the party defending that. We have to be the party of defending people.
Yep.
And the party that's defending people from getting hurt from a government that no longer works. So yes. So to your point, yes, I do think that we have to protect these institutions, but it's not about the institutions. It's about the people who make up the institutions, but the people who those institutions protect. And certainly it's about the people who might not be getting grants or financial aid or any federal assistance because of the cuts Elon Musk is making. And it's insane to me that he can just make these cuts. I don't know. It feels like we're like through the looking glass, because he should not be allowed to do that, like, at all.
Yeah.
Like, for the government.
Yeah, for the people who talk so much about the giant mandate they won in the election, again, not true. They really love the unelected guy controlling everything and really impacting and hurting them. You're so right. Don't make this about the institutions. That was not a winning message in this past election, unfortunately. Make it about the people. Stand up for them. We have agency. We can continue to use our voices. Keith, you're doing that all the time. Thank you so much for coming on the channel. You said this in the video, again, that I suggest people go check out on your channel, that it is great for us to have community. It's easier and better when we do this together. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me, and hope to do it again soon.
Absolutely.